Hi there. Grab a cuppa, take a seat, come and meet your health coach. Brought to you by vitalhealthcoaches.com. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the podcast. I am your host, Clare Sharpen, and today I'm really pleased to welcome Nina Divall to the podcast. Hi, Nina.
Hi, Claire. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me on.
So, Nina, can you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Nina Divall. I live in London, and that's where my practice is based. And I am married with two kids, and I have a little dog, a little sausage dog called Slinky.
Oh. So, how long have you been a health coach, and what is your specific area of interest?
I've been a health coach. I passed my exams in 2020, and I've been practicing full time for 3 years. My kind of specialist area is gut health, which I think is linked to a lot of issues that people have. So, and I've always been fascinated because I had my own issues with my own kind of gut health and digestive issues. So I took a deep dive into that, and I've stuck on that path the whole time.
You've mentioned that you're interested in what you call the gut-spine connection. Just in case our listeners are worried that you are unfamiliar with anatomy and unsure about how our guts, our digestive system, and our spine are connected, could you explain what this connection is and why it's so important?
Yeah, the connection, it's not very well known because I think it's always been seen as two separate things. They're not physically connected, but they are connected within kind of communication pathways. And there's like a two-way system that they pass between of communication. And one is the gastrointestinal health area, which is your gut health area, and then the other is your spinal health area. And they're talking to each other the whole time, and they're linked between the nervous system, the immune system, which is mainly in the gut, and also the inflammatory pathways. And they're constantly talking and communicating when there's any kind of imbalance, and messages are sent to the gut to take away any inflammation that may be within the spine and vice versa. So
Mm.
it is quite a really well linked area, and it's not just about the obvious things like spine health or digestive issues. It's also linked very closely to the brain as well for things like mental and emotional issues, which are also stored within these two areas of the health in our bodies.
Mm. So, can you explain a bit more how inflammation in the gut can influence spinal issues like chronic back pain or even things like disc degeneration? Because, like you say, it's not a very well known or obvious
Mm.
connection.
Yeah, so it's the gut releases these kind of pro-inflammatory molecules. I'm going to get really simple here because I know with the minute you start talking about science, people are like, well, what are you talking about? And they get released into the bloodstream. And the molecules don't just stay in their gut; they go everywhere. So when there's kind of these are kind of free radicals and things like that, and these are the kind of the not great molecules that are going around the body. So they then start attacking areas of the body that are easily attacked, which are places like the spine, and they can get really embedded. And if the gut isn't able to get rid of these molecules, then they will get embedded in the spine, and they can weaken the spinal disc, they can promote degeneration, and they can desensitize the nerves. So it's those areas, and it's not just chronic back pain, it can be joint issues. So it can be things like knee joint issues or ankle joint issues or elbow issues. So things like tennis elbow, even though it is a constant use of something, the gut could help it, but if the gut's not balanced, then it won't be able to help it. So it's I always find that people have these inflammatory issues and they just think it's one thing, but it's actually things under the surface that are also going on that need help
Mm.
and that need to be balanced. So yeah, it's basically if the gut's inflamed, other areas of the body will be inflamed as well, and these areas that usually contain things like water will be the areas that are inflamed as
Mm.
well.
And as you say, our body is such a complex set of systems and connected, interrelated communication.
Mm.
You mentioned earlier about the nervous system, and obviously the nervous system runs through our body. So, how does the nervous system specifically link the gut with other parts of the body?
Yeah, so it is. It's hugely complex. There are all different systems within this nervous system. I mean, the main one is kind of the vagus nerve, which links the brain to the gut. So that's a huge pathway that if that's imbalanced, it will always cause problems. And that is also, it runs down the brain stem through the spine and then connects to the gut. So it's going directly through that kind of core of the body. And so, having that misaligned or any problems with that, whether it's gut issues, whether it's positional issues, your posture and things like that, or if anything within your emotional or mental health is misaligned, that will also cause inflammation. I think people who know about this, if you think of inflammation, it's usually what you're eating or that kind of stuff, but actually it's to do with things like your lifestyle, your sleep, and your stress. So it's really linked. And if, things like that are weakened, or if you have a posture that's a bit collapsed, or you are not moving a lot in the day, that can have a real effect on the system that runs, because it needs to run vertically without any blockages in it. So any kind of breaks or any kind of bending over or anything like that, it will have a problem with that, getting all the communication to it.
Interesting. So, Nina, what would you say are some common signs or symptoms that someone's gut health might, even though they don't necessarily realize it, be contributing to back problems or spinal problems?
Yeah, so there are some obvious ones which will be lower back pain or general pain within the back area. Or they will have, I mentioned before, things like knee pain and ankle pain, elbow pains, the joints kind of say in the morning when you wake up, it's not the easiest thing to spring out. You're not springing out of bed. You are literally hauling yourself out of bed and everything hurts. And then maybe half an hour later, it's all a little bit better and a bit looser. But still, there's a little bit of pain, and that kind of pain, if you're sitting for a while, that'll also could be a problem. That will show as well, and any swelling of any joints as well, that's a big sign as well. And fatigue within your body. So if you feel like, if you've done, you've been on a walk or something and you just feel generally tired afterwards. And then to do with the gut, things like digestive issues, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, any food sensitivities. Your sleep can be massively affected as well, and that can, because your back's hurting at night, but you don't realize it, and then you wake up and you're exhausted because you have been moving around. Your body's trying to overcompensate for it, and things like that. And then the emotional and the mental health issues can also be a sign to it. It's not an obvious one, but it can be a real sign to that. And having spinal misalignment can be a real issue because all the communication is off, going from your gut to your brain. The vagus nerve is kind of shifted a bit, and all these kind of communication pathways are shifted, and they're not getting the communication there easily. It's kind of disjointed, or there are blockages there within that system. So it can be obvious, but it can also be less obvious as well.
And someone experiencing these symptoms, might it be that they go to their doctor, they have tests, and there's no obvious answer like arthritis or damage from an injury or something like that? Is that the case, or is it sometimes that you would see things progressing and turning into things like arthritis or other kind of
Well,
conditions?
both. Yeah, I would say both. I mean, I had my own situation where I had back pain and I couldn't really work out. I went to go and see an osteopath and was okay. And then it just got worse. But I realized that actually what I was eating, if I kind of cut a few things out, I wouldn't have the back pain kind of 2 days later or something. So, it's those kind of things. There's that. So that's the easier fix. And then the other fix is you're getting these symptoms like, the rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis and things like that, which can be a real slow burner. And then they get worse and they get worse. But it's never too late to kind of maybe not reverse it completely, but make it better, make it more manageable by going in and doing a real deep dive and people's lifestyles, what they're eating, how they're moving, how they're sleeping, how their stress is. All of those things are related to with this area. So it's not just kind of a one fix everybody, or one thing that will work. It's a real kind of umbrella
Mm,
of things that
mm.
will help.
And we often think that it should just be one thing, don't we? And if there's one
Yeah,
thing, I need to find
if
out what that
only.
one thing is, and then it'll be all right. Yeah. So building on that then, would you say, are there any specific kind of dietary, therapeutic, lifestyle approaches that can promote overall healing and
Yeah.
strengthen this, what you describe as this gut spine connection?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one for the gut is your diet. That's a fix, I would say, to start with. And removing the inflammatory foods, things like sugar, alcohol, and, the ultra processed foods. Starting off with that, reducing them, don't go all in. It's never going to work. So go kind of reducing them slowly. And then from the other side, like lifestyle, it's regular movement, but maybe not movement that's kind of, really impactful. Maybe it's just slow movement. So you start off with walking, or if you can, you do swimming or cycling, but not at a high intensity level. So your body is just being nurtured. And things like, you can get spinal mobility exercises, but from people who know what they're talking about. Things like breath work is an amazing thing, because when you're doing proper, I mean, none of us really breathe properly. And when you're doing breath work, it's kind of massaging your insides. It sounds quite woo-woo, but the breath that's coming in is massaging your body from within, massaging your digestive system and massaging your nervous system and all that kind of stuff. So doing that, and then, kind of on the stress side, reducing this like hustle culture and getting a more regular flow within your life, managing those areas of stress. I mean, it's hard. It is so hard. We're all go, 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 go. But that's also adding to your spinal problems or your joint problems and the inflammation within your body. And then this connection of the pathways, because they're being disrupted by all these other things you're having to think about, all these other things within your control or not within your controls. It's those kind of things that I always say, put those into place, and it doesn't have to cost you any money either, because that's the other thing. You don't have to start going out and buying supplements, probiotics, prebiotics, whatever, all those kind of stuff. You can do this very cheaply and most of the time for free. And so just taking those small steps and not rushing in all guns blazing, because that's also adding a lot of stress to you, and then trying to be perfect and things like that. It's just little small steps, little and often, will help a lot.
So if someone were to come to you presenting some of these challenges, some of these issues, what's your approach, Nina? How can you support someone to start navigating this and making these changes?
Well, I a lot of people will come immediately to me, and with one issue, and they'll say, well, this, I've got really bad back pain, and then I'll ask these questions, and they will say to me, why are you asking me those questions? Why are you asking me about kind of when I was younger, and all these kind of stuff? But that's the only way to get to the root cause, because sometimes it's not what they think is the problem. It's always something completely different, and it can be, and if it's, it is an emotional thing, and it's kind of, I mean, there's the word trauma is thrown around quite a lot, but sometimes a trauma can be something that has been really blocking them. So even them just being able to talk about that, talk it through, understand how they can deal with that, or then just saying, things like the way that they are eating, where they're eating, how they're eating, what time they're eating, all those kind of things. It's a real deep dive into their lifestyle, which, is a good kind of, I always do like an hour and a half or something, where I sit there and talking to them about everything within their life, their family life. How does that all work? What are the kids? How are they doing if they've got kids? The dog that you need to walk every day, is that, how's that going? And it gets to really deep, and sometimes, the things that you think are the most normal things in your life and that you are dealing with are possibly some of the things that are causing all this inflammation. So it's looking at that. And I don't do anything extreme. I don't say, right, you could never have sugar and you could never have alcohol. That's not life. You can't look at your screen 2 hours before you go to bed. That might be people's downtime. So it's kind of implementing ways to do that. So, and everybody is an individual. It's never oh, here you go, here's the 3-week course, it's online, have a look at it, you'll be fine. It's never like that. It's always, you are that one person and my efforts are all just for you, you will never have the same plan or program or treatment for anybody. So it is that it's getting to know them as a person rather than treating a disease before you treat the person, and looking at the person really. So that's the most important thing to me, and that's how I work.
You say it's different with everyone, and would you say, but with everyone, it's a range of different things that they put in place over a period of time?
Yeah, and that's the thing, getting to know somebody, you understand what is within their parameters of life. You can't, if somebody has never cooked for themselves and does subsist on ready meals, then to find the ready meal that could work for them, but then say, well, actually add in some veg within that, a frozen veg. Doesn't matter. It's kind of working out, are they really going to add another 15 minutes to their very busy day doing a workout? Try thinking, well, I can implement that within your day. What do you do at lunchtime? What do you do in the morning? How do you get to work? All those kind of questions. Are they going to do breath work? Are they going to meditate? Are you going to journal? You can't throw all this at them and say, you've got to do this. They'll do it for 3 days and then they'll never do it again. So it's that way that I think it's very much, what can you achieve? What can work and what will work for a long time? It's not just about today, tomorrow, or next week. It's about the rest of your life in a way that you can do this. So implementing that.
So if someone's listening and they've got back pain, they're thinking, okay, this sounds interesting. What are some suggestions you've got of easy ways, maybe low-hanging fruit, if you like, to make our gut-spine connection healthier, function better?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first one would be daily movement, I would say, and every day, throughout the day, not just first thing in the morning or last thing at night, kind of base it throughout the day. So if you are desk bound, if you're always at a desk, then maybe, I know I don't like setting alarms and things like that because that adds more stress to the day, because you might be in the middle of a meeting, your alarm or your phone goes off and you think, oh God, I've got to go on that 10-minute walk. She told me to do that. But you think, oh, I have sat down for quite a long time. I'll just go do a loop of the office and do that. So that's a really easy one. And then, another thing with the diet side of things, add a new vegetable in once a week. If you think, okay, I do my supermarket shop or I go to the supermarket on the way back home from work, and just think, okay, I'll add some cauliflower in today for this week. And try and add new veg or try new vegetables. Vegetables, they're a great source of getting rid of anything that's kind of imbalance with your body, to get it out of your body, the waste of your body. One thing I haven't really mentioned is hydrating, drinking water. And to make that easier, water's boring, but to make it a little bit easier, put some a bit of lemon juice in it, put a bit of lime juice in it, or any citrus fruit that you have, or if you've got some cucumbers or if you've got some strawberries, pop those in your drink. It makes it taste a damn sight nicer, and that could be part of your supermarket shop. It's not an added extra that needs to be in there. And take a little bit of time, once a moment of the day, just for you, just you sitting there. Doesn't matter if you're just sitting on your own in your house, just staring out the window with a cup of tea, or at work, taking that little bit of go to the loo, just take yourself away for 5 minutes and then come back. You'll feel a lot more refreshed. So they're easy, doable, free-ish things to do. And I always want that, because I always think people think good health is unattainable and it's expensive. And yes, some of it is incredibly expensive, but actually a lot of it is available to everybody. It's just having that a few little tips and tricks and easy ones to do that will stay with you for a long time. So,
and can I ask you, have you got an example of a client who springs to mind who has seen a really significant change having worked with you?
Yeah, I had somebody I was working with, and she wasn't sleeping very well, and I think she was probably about 40, and she said she felt like 60. She was, actually that's not very old. So she said felt about 80. And she said because she just would wake up in the morning and she could hardly get out of bed. She was walking around holding her back, joint pains and things. And she ate quite well, but she was eating quite a lot of sugary snacks. And she'd also do a lot more in the evenings than she would do in the day. She was kind of catching up in the evenings with all her kind of to-do lists and everything. And I just kind of said to her, okay, here's, a couple of things. Just try and remove one of the sugary snacks in the day, the afternoon one. You can have the one in the morning, the afternoon one. And she drank a lot of coffee and tea. So that would be throughout the day. And I said, just the last cup of coffee or tea, could you have it before 12 o'clock? And then in the evening, an hour before you go to bed, stop doing everything you're doing and have a little time, even if it's watching TV, staring at a phone, doesn't matter, but stop like fussing around and doing things. And she did it. And after 3 weeks, the difference was so significant. She said, I'm literally just, my husband's like, what is wrong with you? You're literally jumping out of bed and all this stuff. And I said, yeah. And, and she says to me, even now, we've still kept in touch. And she said, every time I lapse back, which isn't really a lapse, but you have your lifestyle is just, you can't really control it, whatever. She said, immediately within 2 days, my joints hurt again. My hip hurts. And I said, yeah, it's frightening. And the same happens to me. We may be in the health industry, but we're not perfect. But if I have a couple of days or a week where it's a little bit too much on all fronts, then I start to get my back pain back again. And it's an amazing thing, but it can also, as quickly as it could come back, quickly can kind of go as well. So, and that's what I always say to people. I said, this doesn't have to take forever. You will see improvements sometimes within days, sometimes within weeks, but you will see improvements very quickly.
Our bodies are very good at communicating with us, aren't they?
Yeah. Amazing. And they're repairing themselves and resetting, and they have that kind of that memory, that muscle memory, that kind of joint memory, whatever, how it should have been. And working on that it's incredible. It's incredible to see and lovely to see as well when people are they come on a call and they're so happy, they're like, oh my God, you won't believe it, or you get a little message from them. So it's cool.
Great. So Nina, where can people find more about you?
They can find me on the Vital Health Coaches website, just under my name, and all my information's on there, and they can see the courses that I do, or and how they can work with me on there.
And how does it work? How many weeks might someone work with you? What's that sort of process like?
Yeah, as I said, it's really individual. So, I say to people 4, 8, 12 weeks, and 4 is the minimum, because you will see differences. But then if you kind of walk away from each other, then leaving somebody on their own when it's started such a new thing, and they will just be seeing changes sometimes. You don't want to let them go. So I say 4 weeks, but the ultimate is 12 weeks, where you see real change that sticks. So I do, one-to-one coaching. I also do kind of group sessions, but it's you doing it mainly on your own, going away and doing that and listening, and watching videos and things like that, and having a little bit of homework at the end of it, with, like the ideas I've said today. And things like that. I mean, there's always the kind of the free call, just to get to know each other and see if we vibe off each other, because it's the same thing. It's like you have a connection with your client, and they have a connection with you, so getting to know. So I think they're always really important calls, those kind of free calls, and it's just that reassurance that somebody's out there to help.
Yeah Great. Well, I've learned loads today listening to you. Thank you so much for sharing with us on the podcast. It's been really interesting. And look forward to hearing more success stories as time goes on.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on. And it's really, really great to be part of the Vital Health Coaches gang, because it's so nice to know there are others out there, because you do sometimes feel that you're slightly alone in all of this, but actually there's so many other people out there, and so interesting, all the things that people are they're helping people with, and their success stories and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for for having me along the ride.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. For more on how a health coach can support you in your health journey, please go to vitalhealthcoaches.com.